All right, now we're ready to frame the floor joists. First thing we're going to do is we're going to lay out our rim joist. It's 1.5 inches thick, so we'll snap a line along this edge, 1.5 inches back. That'll give us the edge of our rim joist. From there, we'll take our floor joists and we'll extend them. We won't have a rim joist on this side because we're going to cantilever our joists out over this edge here 2 feet. So our building will actually be 2 foot wider than what it shows right here. So again, first thing we'll do is we'll put our rim joists on so we have something to slide our joists up to and nail to, and we'll go from there. All right, first step is measuring 1.5 inches over on this side. And since I'm alone, I'll put a nail in here to hold this end of the snap line. We'll mark down here at 1.5 inches. And there we have our first step in this process. Got a big one, whoa! Now we'll measure for our rim joist. And we're at 18 feet 1/2 inch. All right, we have our snap line. We'll go cut our rim joist, we'll install it. Then what we'll do is we'll lay out for our floor joist across the top of the rim joist so it'll be on equal spacing. You'll notice that we're using all green pressure treated material. We're doing this because our foundation isn't so high and we're fairly close to the ground below. Normally, once you put down your green mudsill, you would build the rest of the project with fir or spruce or whatever your local area uses. And that's only if you have, say, an 18-inch clear crawl space. Again, in this case, we don't have that, so we're making sure that our floor joists are safe when it comes to moisture underneath the floor. The next thing you need to do is you need to look down your board from the end. Your joist is, rim joist or regular joist is always generally going to be crowned one way or the other. A crown is up like this. So as you look down the edge of the board, you generally can find a crown. You have to find that crown because the weight, once you're inside the building, will eventually pull that crown out of the joist and the joists become flat. You do not want to have one of your joists crowned this way and then dip this way and then crown that way. So as they're going along, they're up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You either want all the crowns facing up or all the crowns facing down. And the only time you'd want the crowns facing down is when you have a cantilever, because there'll be weight at the end of the joist which will pull up the center of the joist once it's, after a while, once the weight's on it. So when you're cantilevering, you want the crown down. When you're just going from point to point, you want the crown up. What I do is I just basically, I figure out where the crown is, and I always put a nice arrow pointing up where the crown is. That way I'll know with each board if the crown's up or down. We've placed our rim joist, now we're going to nail it in place, bearing in mind that we have to keep on this nice straight line that we have laid out. After that, we'll lay this out on layout pattern for our floor joists. In pressure-treated material, you use galvanized nails because the chemicals in the pressure treatment can't eat away at normal nails. So the galvanization on the nails protects the nail and keeps the nail intact. If you use just a regular common nail or say a sinker nail, the vinyl will peel off the sinker, and eventually these chemicals in the Mudsill material, or excuse me, the green pressure-treated wood will affect the nail and weaken it over time.
So just show me the nail right now, if you can. All the nails that you had in your hand.
I'm just toenailing this rim joist from the back side. A toenail is just basically an angled nail through the side of the board into the mudsill. Your rim joist might sit up on the washers a bit. That's not a problem. If your rim joist actually does come over and hit your nut or your bolt, you'll have to put a notch in your rim joist. All right, now we'll start laying out for our floor joists. If you notice on a standard tape measure, there's these little arrows every 16 inches. Now that's the center, that's where you want the center of your joist to be on 16 inches. You do that because plywood is laid out in increments of 16 inches, so 4 feet is even. You can get an even number of 16-inch segments in 4 feet, and the same with 8 feet. So when you lay your plywood out, you want to make sure that your plywood lands in the middle of a floor joist. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook this on the end, we're going to come over and we're going to make a mark 3/4 of an inch back from our layout point, because that will give us the center of our joist. So our joist will be from 15 1/4 to 16 3/4. Okay, so we won't actually make a mark at the 16. We'll make a mark 3/4 of an inch back and make an X, because that will tell us which side of that mark we'll put our joist on. So obviously we'll have one joist at the end. We'll come over and we'll lay out 15 1/4 and put an X. So when we put our joist on here, I'll give you a little illustration here. Maybe this will make it clearer. Make our mark all the way over here. Okay, so when we do our layout, here, what we'll do is we'll put our joist here, and as you see, what that does is it's lined up on the line, it's where the X is, and you'll see that the joist will end up right at the 16-inch center point, okay? So if a piece of plywood is coming across here, it will land right in the middle of this joist. So I'll continue laying this out in the same way. 32 inches, I come back, 3/4 of an inch, make an X. 48 inches, I do the same thing, make my X.